Okay. So here's what we have right here. This is called a hierarchy. Okay. This is a hierarchy. There's the dungeon master up top, and there's the players at the bottom. Okay. This has to be absolute. Okay. There can't be a player that's like right here. You can't mix and match them. Okay. Now, something I want to show you is that you cannot be their friend as the dungeon master because you have this hierarchical authority over them, all right? If you're using your dungeon mastership to leverage friends, I'm sorry. It's not, something's got to give, okay? Either it's social hour or it's Dungeons and Dragons, okay? Now, if you want to have social hour, if you want to get your friend, whatever, but you're going to be sacrificing this. You're going to be sacrificing this if you do that. Okay, look, if you want to do social hour, go ride a bicycle, go to the park, go, when the bar's open, do that. Like there's many recreational activities. Because in the end, you will be leveraging your power over them. And that's not what a friend is. A friend does not have power over you, okay? If it's outside the game, then yeah, sure. But the dungeon master has to have absolute authority over what's going on. This is my ideal party breakdown, all right? There's 7 people here. And here's why, okay? Now, this, I mean, honestly, for me, right here, this is just about, this is almost golden right here, okay? 4 players. Four players showing up to a game, okay? So you're going to have someone with no sense of direction. You're going to have 2 people that are kind of supporting, and then you're going to end up having 1 person that has, I wouldn't say direction, but the most direction out of the 4 of them. And this is ideal because once you get to 5, then that's where the factions start forming. That's when the party starts breaking into factions. And factions actually can be very fun. I'm not totally against factions. But sometimes they can get a little distracting, and sometimes they can detract from the whole game. So what are these guys? What are these guys over here? Why would you have essentially 3 people stapled onto your ideal party size? Because they offer a level of redundancy to the makeup of the party. Okay. I was playing with a party of 4, right? I was so excited. I got 4 people together. Okay. And, the energy was great. The energy was fantastic. Like, throw something in the chat. They're very receptive. I gave them little tasks during the week. Try to brush your teeth with your left hand. Why don't you make something and share it with the party? It was I guess it had a very strong social aspect to it in a way, but out of the blue, these guys just tell me one day, 1 hour before the game starts that they're done. They're just absolutely done playing. I always like to send out a 24-hour notice and then a 6-hour notice. Okay, I send it out with all my games, just to give everyone a reminder, if you will, of what's going on, because people have shaky schedules, and it's about keeping in touch with them sometimes. But these guys gave me thumbs up on the 24-hour notice and a thumbs up at the 6-hour notice. But with the 1 hour, I didn't even say anything. It's like, oh, I'm sorry to be a Debbie Downer. So they left, and then this guy just didn't show up. So this new player, this is her 3rd time playing Dungeons and Dragons. This is her 3rd time playing the game. Was not going to have a party to play with. It was just going to be me, pretty much, versus her, and that's not super doable. I've played with 2 players, and it's becoming kind of a competition. It's not the worst thing in the world if you're stuck between turning away players from playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons and playing with 2 players. Sometimes it can be helpful, but I didn't even have one player to give her. So I had to call in my friends from the other game, and now I use them kind of to fill in the gaps. So I had two people fill in the gaps at short notice. And I'm going to say that's the exception, okay? I'm going to say that's absolutely the exception here. You want to have the extra guys. You want to have the extra guys, okay? You absolutely want to have some extra guys. But the thing is now is you don't want to have too many extra guys, okay? Now, this definitely reflects on me more than anything else, okay? I've had campaigns in the past where just no one wanted to show up ever. Just nope, no one ever wants to show up, and that's on me. That's absolutely 100% on me. They saw the game, they got to make an opinion about the game, and they got to react to that opinion. And I would like to think that I've improved as a DM throughout the years, but I'm just stuck in this paradox, you see, where I'm constantly recruiting. Always, all the time, and I can probably pull in on average like a player every 2 months at the very least. And that's probably going on the low side of it. Because I had to there was a time where I just had to remove 3 people out of the blue. I just had to like and that'll happen. You should not let them ever use this sort of need for numbers. You shouldn't let them do that to justify crazy behavior, okay? But here's where things get sticky. And here's here's the paradox I'm alluding to is I have roughly 7 or 8 players that will come and go. Or sorry, that I have like in the group chat. And this equates usually 7 or 8 players gives me about 3 or 5 players a game. Things happen, people just aren't feeling it that week, whatever. Okay, but one game, I think I had 9 players. And the only problem with that is this is as much attention as I can give. 7 players. That's it. I max out right there. And that reflects on me. But I just think it's so hard to be able to give more than 7 people a custom tailored experience that will actually suit their suit what they want, suit what they're looking for. And so, it came down. This guy was the tech priest, and he wants the technical breakdown and shit. And it's great because I get to speak in a totally different language, right? And so I usually reserve a portion of the game just to give techno babble, like on Star Trek. And he eats it up and he does something with it, so it's so rewarding. But the thing is this guy over here, he did not receive the attention. He didn't receive the attention. And this guy over here was probably one of my favorite players I've ever played with, or at least as a DM, because he picked up everything I had to say. Everything I had to say, he picked it up just like that. I would just lay out a breadcrumb and he'd pick it up. It was incredible. So he didn't show up. And this person's just here or there, take it or leave it, right? And so I'm stuck here between having too few players and having too many. It's a very fine balance, and it's something that I haven't really figured out at all. Because it seems like as soon as I stop recruiting, that's when we don't have enough players. I mean, there was one, yeah. It still happens to me, it definitely reflects. And so to break up this kind of this fatigue, what I absolutely recommend is to foster sort of a system in which you can select a player to become the DM. And so you have a cycle. And this is huge. This is absolutely huge. Let me tell you why, okay? I don't like the idea of forever DMs. I think that even a very intelligent, very creative, and enthusiastic person, I think that, you know what, this This is bugging me. I think that even, you know, just this magnanimous genius such as myself runs out of that brilliance, that originality. There's just a point where it just like, you know, I need time. I need time to figure it out. This campaign I'm working on, I mean, that we're doing right now, it took me like 6 or 8 years to really like finally get it. And this is like the fourth run through that it's been done, and only like one party's gone through it. So I need time, man. I need time to think about this. And also I need to see what it's like to be a party member. Okay, this is huge. This is absolutely huge. When we were playing Black Crusade, it was just me and 2 players. Okay, that was all I could scrape together, right? And so they spent 45 minutes preparing this ritual to summon this thing to fix the situation. And that was their solution, was summoning this thing, right? And so they came time to do the ritual, and I'm like, nope, doesn't work. And they're like, why? I'm like, that. I was like, because you didn't do what it said in the book. So then, you know, I get to play as the player, and we end up going to this like skyrise, this like cityscape. I wanted to summon some sort of Slaneshi demon to the rise, and so I started a party. I got all these like crazy props, and I did crazy things, and so like, you know, we shut the door and we came back, and I wanted to summon a demon, but what happened was everyone just got high and drunk, and that was all that happened. And so I'm like, why you? And they're like, well, remember when you were the DM and you fucked us out of that thing? And I was like, oh my god, this feels awful. And so you just need to you need to be humbled by your players, or by the people that were your players, okay? And it really, it gives your players a sense of ownership as well when they get to become the dungeon master. It gives them, it makes it so this isn't just your game, it's their game too. So they're also invested in it the same way you might be. And here's the trick, okay? Look, power is that thing that nobody wants to give up. No one wants to give up their power, okay? No one wants to do it. I mean, the first time I ever had any power was to go to this meeting away from the work, and then I abused it by not going back to work the rest of the day. It was like, it happened like once, I think every 2 weeks or something like that, or maybe once a week. I just abused it. I just absolutely abused it. And so when I lost that, it felt awful. Power's the worst thing, but you've got to give it up. You've got to give it up for the sake of the party. And this isn't just like, okay, now he's the DM. This is like, I'm not going to be doing those 24-hour notices. I am going to be unadminning myself from the group chats. I'm going to absolutely relinquish everything I have and let the new DM decide how they want to do it. Okay? And this is big because I know that this DM has some flaws. Okay, right off the bat, his behavior as a character sometimes makes you think, but you know what? It's going to be his game, and I'm not even saying that in a begrudging fashion. If I hold this person's hand and tell them, well, maybe you should do this, maybe you could do, then I'm not giving it over. I have to be willing to give everything over, and I've got to give this person a chance to fail. Absolutely, give this person a chance to fail, because without that chance to fail, they will never have a chance to succeed. It won't be there. It'll just still be my game, except I have a puppet or a proxy. So, you know, if you watch my other thing about Dungeon Master alignments, that's what makes D&D so much fun. That's what makes it so good, is because all Dungeon Masters play a different way. They just absolutely do. You're gonna get a totally different experience. Okay, it's still Dungeons and Dragons, but it's a different game. It's a different game through and through. And that, you know, I wouldn't. I mean, it would be interesting, I guess, to play with someone very similar to me, but I think it's by and large more interesting to just play with something that you can't expect, you can't read, you can't make it. And so my challenge is, and I'm a very argumentative guy, my challenge will be following through with everything that I've said here. Every single thing that I've said here, I need to follow through with that, because it's one thing to say it, it's another completely different thing to do it. And yeah, just to recap, this is a hierarchy, okay? The players are down here, the dungeon master's up there. There's no space in between. There's no space in between, okay? And you know, if you're a player, right, and the DM says something that's going to nerf you or mess you up, if you want to recite the rules and be like, well, this is what this says in the rules, by all means, defend yourself. Defend yourself. And if, you know, and it kind of gets in a gray area if you're trying to defend other people. It gets kind of, because it's kind of your business because it's the party, but it's also not really your business because it's the player. But if you want to defend other people, by all means, that could be what you provide to the party, is this kind of defense against the DM's sort of encroachment. But keep in mind that can piss them off. But if you really want to piss off the DM, if me especially, start just like trying to mess up other players with the rules, or try. I don't give a shit. Okay, I don't give a shit that there's certain instances where ones are critical failures and 20 is. I don't know the difference because I don't care. I honestly don't care. I feel like you're splitting hairs. I know some of them are ability modifiers, some of them are saves, some of them are tags, and whatever, dude. It's just, they're just rules, okay? At the end of the day, I just want to keep the dice rolling. And so if you're trying to like split these hairs with the DM, go ahead, try it. But if he says, hey, this is my game, then just take it like that. You know, there's this thing where like I do, okay, maybe I could have been better about this. I make my players do so many perception checks. It was unreal. They've done more perception checks. There's probably like 10 times more perception checks than anything else in the game, or any 2 other checks in the game. Okay, so I definitely could have been better about it. However, I mean, it's okay. It's fine. I mean, the splitting hairs, but well, this is investigation and this is insight and that's perception. I get there's a place for each of them, but sticking dogmatically to that, if you can do it right off the bat, that's great. But if it comes to this thing where like the DM's saying, okay, take a perception check, and then someone's like, well, actually, just shut up. If that's what you really resonate with, run your own game. And I'm not even saying that in a facetious way. You have something to offer, okay? You definitely have something to offer in that realm, and that is understanding the rules to a point that they can be followed to like strictly. And yeah, that's about all I have. Really, just you want to make a cycle. You want to keep your power, all right? When you're up there, it's time for the power, but you want to also be able to change up the power, and you want to be able to foster. You want to be able to foster your players into having the ownership to take it, because it's so easy just to ride in the back seat. You know, out of these guys right here, just in the way it works, 1 or 2 of them, or maybe sometimes just one, isn't going to be super invested in the whole thing. I really think about Dungeons and Dragons as a cult. It really is a cult. I think, in a way, the religious people are right, because it's absolutely a cult. There's a hierarchy, there's a lore, there's esoteric practices. And if you dress up, all the power to you. I love it when people dress up. That's so cool. There's and that's probably why I lost those 2 players right off the bat, is because their mission leader told them this conflicted with their deal. But since it is a church, or since it is a cult, hear me out here. Okay, here's what cults have. They did this in Tiger King. They did this in Tiger King, man, where that Doc Antil, he legally renamed everyone in his cult. All right, he had their name changed legally to different weird esoteric stuff. It was like, okay, I'm not gonna say weird. It was like Hindu stuff, Hindu names. that's part of the cult process is changing their names. All right, these people, refer to them by their character name. Do not refer to them by their actual name if you can help it. And this goes into making interesting character names that actually fit the lore. You know, there's this because there can be a mix-up. We had a mix-up between Nicks the other night, and so I would, you know, but keep in mind, you know, it's your creative freedom too. Your creative freedom as a player should not be super imposed upon by the DM. So if you want your character to have that name, that's perfectly doable. There's just sometimes there's some interference. So you want to give them different names, and then you also want to establish a hierarchy of itself. Okay, so gameplay wise, yes, there is no in between, but behind the scenes, you know, that there's a hierarchy in every cult, and so, but I'm saying this contradicts almost. This absolutely contradicts to what I said before, but out on the outside though of the game, you're gonna want to have a couple special delegates, okay, a couple special members that you elevate above the others, okay, and this is only in terms of what they're willing to contribute, okay. You're grooming these people, and you don't want to have just one, okay. You don't want to have just one, but you're grooming two at a time, okay. If you're grooming two at a time, so that so actually no, I'm not being contradictory at all. It doesn't just go like this. It goes like this, okay? And yeah, so this, I'm not completely contradicting myself. They are not a part necessarily of the hierarchy, but they're a part of the greater cycle. In that you're elevating them, you're preparing them to become the DM, okay? I wouldn't advise giving away too many secrets, but when it's clear that you actually have somebody that wants to DM, you need to get them there, and you need to give them a more or less a rough understanding of when the game is going to end. And the reason you want two of them is so that, well, I just don't feel like, you know, you get this. If it's just one of them, I just don't feel like it. But if there's a chance that the other guy can get the slot that the first guy was promised, then they'll fight over it. And that rivalry is definitely necessary. It lights a fire underneath their ass. But it also makes it so they're not directly competing with you. They're kind of competing with the other guy. So, yeah, it's a cult. It's absolutely a cult.